Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, where we air live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Actually, we're live on the first and third, but we do air Tuesdays, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Did you know you can listen to it in your car? If you have Siri or any other radio network, you can get the show mobile in your car. You can watch us on YouTube, and you can even ask Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 Radio Network and get on your apps. So for more information on the full schedule, go to dreamvision7radio.com. I am excited to have Frank Zaccari with me this evening, and I'll tell you a little bit about Frank in a minute. But first, as you know, for those of you who have been listening, we like to start our calls with a prayer, and I use the Serenity Prayer, especially in this time of the world. I think that's one thing we all need. It's Christmas time, and we're running around like a bunch of loons trying to get everything done last minute. Who else is doing that besides me? I know you all are, so raise your hands. Anyway, let's start with the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I also want to say that today we are grateful to be fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness, using our God-given gifts and talents with passion and purpose, and we are making a difference in the lives of others. And all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And it is with great gratitude that we say, Amen. Amen. And that's exactly what Frank is doing. He's making a difference in the lives of other people with his 2 best-selling books. And we're gonna talk about them in just a minute. Let me just give you a short bio on Frank. He is, as I said, a best-selling author who has written 7 books based on life-altering events. His 2 latest, the first 2 of a 3-book series, Business Secrets for Walking on Water and Business and Personal Secrets for Avoiding Relationship Landmines, are the first 2 in that 3-book series. An accomplished speaker, Frank teaches aspiring entrepreneurs at Arizona State University, is a mentor with the Veterans Treatment Court, and a mentor and judge with the University of California Entrepreneurship Academy. His international Voice America radio show, Life Altering Events, is now on Roku TV, and he has 220,000 listeners in 42 countries. With 30 years of expert experience as a successful executive, author, and entrepreneur, Frank teaches aspiring entrepreneurs and leaders to uncover hidden opportunities, find the connections to create solutions to business and personal challenges, and build high-performing teams to succeed. A native of Western New York, Frank Zaccari served as a medic in the U.S. Air Force, then spent over 20 years in the high-tech industry. Huge shift. Holding senior positions with Fortune 50 organizations and turning around small and mid-sized companies, Frank brings immense knowledge of business, finance, organizational development, people, and success to his engaging spoken presentations and books. And you can connect with Frank at frankzaccari.com. We'll talk more about that later as well. Frank, welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Always a pleasure talking to you, Teresa.
I love talking to you too. So you had 5 books before you put out Business Secrets for Walking on Water. What's the secret, Frank?
What's the secret? The secret of walking on water is to know where the rocks are.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with people who can show you where they are.
Exactly. And you're one of those people who can show people where the rocks are.
Yes.
So why did you start with this book? I think it's a perfect beginning to the conversation, whether we're talking about business or, as we'll talk about soon, personal relationships, conversations with people. When you're talking to people, you're talking to people. And like we had said before, how you do anything is how you do everything. So why not start with organizing the business, doing the right things, having the right conversations, so we can take that into other places. Why did you start with this?
Sure. I started with that book mainly at the influence of the publishers, you and Kat, who had said, look, you got 30 plus years of experience. You've done a lot of things very, very well. And there's a lot of ups and downs that occur. In the business world, the thing that I found is the difficult things are not what you know, it's what you don't know. It's what you don't see coming. It's what you don't expect. It's what you don't plan for. So what you know is not nearly as important as what you don't know. And what you know is not nearly as important as who you know. Because so many people in business, particularly as they're starting out, they figure, I'm smart, I'll figure it out, I'll find some way to get there. And so they start throwing money down a bunch of different rabbit holes, trying to figure something out. And unfortunately, you're never going to get that money back ever. It's much easier or much better to align yourself with people who've been where you want to go. But what I see, Teresa, so many times is they surround themselves with clones of themselves. And so you all basically have the same set of skills at the same level of knowledge. And now when something comes up that you don't understand or you didn't expect, they certainly don't understand it and didn't expect it either. And so now there's this big scramble mode that occurs, and it would have been so significantly easier to bring in people that understand where you're trying to get to and can guide you along the way. And then I hear people say, well, I got to pay these people, I got to hire them. I say, you don't have to hire them. You bring them in as advisors, because more times than not, as we all know, if we've owned a business, the first set of employees probably aren't going to stay with you very long anyway, because either the job outgrows them, or you don't like each other anymore, or you decide that the job's outgrown. You believe that they no longer can fit as you're moving to where you want to go. So the key is surround yourself with people who know what you don't know, and that's how you find where the rocks are, so you can walk on water. So we put that together with a whole series of examples of things that are going to come up. They're going to happen. And that's the real magic of it, is you don't see them coming. And too many business owners are so involved, they're in the weeds. And they're basically the highest paid clerk in their company. They're not leading the organization, they're doing the work. And I found myself in that position more than once. And the staff would go home at 5 o'clock and dump a bunch of stuff on my desk and say, oh, I couldn't get this done, I can't figure this out. So now they're going home, and then you're there another 2-3 hours, basically doing their job.
Yeah.
So once you start realizing that, then it's okay, I need to have people in your organization who are better than I am in their area of expertise. Because if I'm the smartest guy in the room, we got a big problem here. So that was the impetus for the first book. And it how to build a culture was another big thing that comes into play, because people a number of people I talked to say, well, it's all about the strategy. And I said, well, no, it's not about the strategy. Even Peter Drucker said that 100 years ago, strategy, culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's about your culture. If you have a toxic culture, I don't care how good your strategy is, you're going to fail.
So let's talk about what exactly is culture, because that seems to be a buzzword now in business that wasn't there 20 years ago. So let's talk about, from what you know, what the word culture actually means in business.
Culture is who you are. People tell me it's what you do. No, it's not what you do. It's who you are. This is who you are as an entity. And this is the way you're going to act. And this is, as you said earlier, how you do anything is how you do everything. That's what culture is. And your culture determines the level of how you're going to connect with people. Because if your culture is strong and your employees are happy and they feel listened to and they feel wanted and valued, then you're going to have a very positive environment. And that very positive environment will then reach out to your customers. then how you treat your customers becomes also part of your culture. Because if you're in it to make money, and I have so many people, I ask them, Teresa, so what do you want to do this for? I said, well, I don't like working for anybody else. Okay, well, that's not a good reason to start a business. I want to make a lot of money. Okay, that's not a good reason to start a business either. What are you doing for the customer? Your culture, your why you want to do something has to match why the customer wants it. And if there's a match, and that's all within your culture, then you're going to be more successful. You have a chance to be more successful than I see so many people at well, we're doing this like this because it's easier for us. Okay, well, nobody cares if it's easier for you. Is it easier for the customer? Is it easier for your employees? I think Richard Branson said, your number one job, your most important job is your employees. You keep them happy, and your employees will keep your customers happy. That's what I think culture is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And you gave a good example of how you do everything. Anything is how you do everything. Like what you take, what you bring to your business, you bring home with you at night. What you bring to your relationship with your friends, you bring to your business. It's like it goes around in a circle, and we'll talk more about that. But what I wanted to also say is what you said a little bit earlier. The people that you're not going to get the answers from the people that you hang around with now. So what do you think about up leveling your people who you hang around with? And let me tell you the reason why I asked this. I have heard many, many successful people say that you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So how does one who is stuck in the loop of the friend who's always complaining about their business, or this other friend who's always talking about certain things, how do you up level the people that you are around in order to be able to launch yourself into a group where you actually feel like you are learning and growing and becoming a good business person?
What I did was I moved away. I was with a set of people that it was becoming toxic, and it was just simply was a drain. Every day was a drain. It was so depressing. And I said, okay, I am not going to put up with this anymore. And I found another opportunity 2 or 3 hours away, and I moved. Okay, not everybody can pick up and move, but once you get to that point where this is no longer working for me, then you start to detach yourself from this group. All right, I'm not going to be going out. I'm not going to be hanging out in the bar after work. I'm not going to be doing whatever it was we were doing. I'm going to change the pattern. Now, this is interesting because I said that I'm going to change this pattern. I move away 3 hours away. And the pattern was, you get off of work, this was back in the 70s, right? You get out of work, you go to the bar, you hang out at the bar, and then you go home eventually. So my first day, new place, I get done with work. There's a place called the Pepper Mills across the street from where I live. So I walk over to the Pepper Mill, and I'm sitting in the bar after work. And it finally dawns on me, Teresa, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is why you left. So I went home and I pick up a newspaper back when people used to get newspapers, and I see that there's a health club, racquetball club. I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go to this racquetball club. I have no idea how to play racquetball. So I go with some of the people from work, and you can see us after about 5 minutes that we had no idea how to play racquetball because we kept running into each other, 4 people on the court, which was incredibly stupid. And then we keep colliding. So I said, all right, this is not going to work. So I walked down the hallway, and there's in one of the other courts, there's an aerobic class going on. And there's all women in this class, and they're just about done. And so I waited for the instructor to come out, and I said, is this just a woman's only thing? And she said, no, but no men have the guts to come in. And she says, you got the guts to come in? And I said, sure, why not? So next day, the classes, whatever it was, I go in there and I'm trying to blend, right? There's 35 women in me, and I'm trying to blend in, right? And she says, oh, no, you don't get to go in. You come up front.
Uh-oh.
Right? So we do this class, and I was not in the best shape in the world. And she ends up with you laying on the floor and you're stretching, right? And Teresa, everything hurt. My eyelashes hurt. It was so painful. So I'm laying on the ground, and I said to myself, I made it through the class. I'm never coming back. And then she walks up to me. She puts her foot on my chest while I'm laying on the ground. And she says, So you man enough to come back?
Oh,
Now, if I could have moved my arms to push her leg off, I would have. But then I looked up at her and I said, "You'll never win." And based on that little story, I started working out at this club. I started dealing with people who had more positive attitudes about life in general. I started interacting with people who are looking at where they want to go as opposed to where they have been.
right.
And that was the start of a major metamorphosis in my life, that, I'm not going to let anything around me pull me back into the vortex. And when I feel that occurring, I need to move on. And that's how I advise people when I talk to them is, it's one of the chapters in the book. If you're making the same mistake over and over and over again, you're going to have to look inside your head, inside your mindset, as to why.
Mhm.
What is the trigger that forces you or drives you to this set of behavior that you just keep doing over and over? And it's very difficult to change. It's not like, okay, I'm going to change tomorrow. It's a conscious effort, and you're probably going to need help.
Yeah.
Right? So you might see a counselor or an advisor. You talk to people that that have a positive attitude or environment. It might be somebody from work. It could be somebody from Biz Catalyst. Like this latest change in my life was meeting you and Teresa, and then introducing me to Dennis over at Biz Catalyst 360, and having this whole army of people, and everybody's positive and encouraging. And that's what you keep looking for, because I'm here now. Well, these people over here are doing something that's unique or better or different, and maybe that's a step I should be taking. So it's always looking for what's next and always looking to improve.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like you just gave great examples of figuring out where the rocks are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You sat at the bar, you're like, what am I doing? This wasn't working before. It's not going to work now. So let me try something different. Okay, this rock, I can stand on this rock. And then the next one, you were figuring out where the rocks are. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
So go ahead.
It was very interesting. From there, then I started launching into different positions in different parts of the world. And even when you're looking at a job or a position or a business, it's what value do I bring? And is my value proposition and my integrity going to stay in place? All right. When people see that and sense that you're bringing value, and integrity is your greatest asset or your greatest virtue, you're going to be successful. It's going to happen.
And I think that's really important. And I want to go a little bit deeper into that when we come back from the break, which is only going to be 2 minutes from now. So value and integrity, those two things are top on my list as well, Frank. That's why, I know that this team that we have here works so well together to get things moving in the right direction with the books. And there's a lot of things in the back of this book. I just want to say that we're talking about this one right now, but this is the one that Business and Personal Secrets for Avoiding Relationship Landmines. This is the newest one. So both of them are bestsellers on Amazon. You can get them there. Just go to Amazon.com, look up Frank Zaccari. They will come up to the top. And what I wanted to say is each one of them has a workbook in the back. So the little bits and pieces that you're getting from what Frank is saying right now, you can expand on simply by getting your copy of these books and reading through it, and then working through the workbook in the back, which is really, really helpful. It helps. I found that as I was reading this book, it really helps you to dive deeper into your own situation and apply the principles that you actually have in the book, so that you can actually utilize the information immediately and start making changes that will change your business. True?
Absolutely. That was the goal in putting that together. I learned a long time ago, nothing changes until you do.
Yeah.
So you can read something, oh, that's nice, but then you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So we put the workbook in there. I was again at your suggestion, and you and Kat, and now we're turning that into a series of workshops that we will be putting out there soon. Let's hope.
Which is amazing. I wish and we'll go deeper into that as soon as we come back from the break. So just don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Frank Zaccari in just a minute. We'll see you soon.
What if dreams can diagnose your life? What if we can meet the love of our life in dreams? Join host Kat O'Keefe Canavas, the #1 internationally best-selling author of Dreams That Can Save Your Life, written with Duke University medical doctor Larry Burke. Dreaming Healing is where we'll explore dreams, research, and interpret dreams from you, the caller. Dreaming Healing shows can be heard every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern, with live shows on the first and third evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Come live your dreams out loud with Kat.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. For over 40 years, Omega has seen more than 1 million people come through its doors to grow, learn, and find a greater sense of purpose. With over 350 workshops to choose from, Omega offers something for everyone. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
We're back with Frank Zaccari. I love that "let life flow" thing. I find myself knowing that, hearing that voice. I find myself taking a deep breath and kind of just like relaxing into the next moment. You know, it just really helps. So thanks, Deborah. Anyway, all right. So before the break, we were talking about nothing changes until something changes, and that has to be you, because it all starts with you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how I'm going to kind of flip here to this, the second book of the series, Business and Personal Secrets for Avoiding Relationship Landmines. Let's talk about, based on what we just said, nothing changes until something changes. And as we've been talking about, how you do everything is how you do everything. How is this book going to help people in their relationships, not only at work, but in their relationships at home? And I know you have a personal story that is really probably the incentive for this book to be published. Yes?
There's probably several stories for the book to be published. The big thing that I found is I was very successful professionally. I did very, very well, but my relationships were terrible. And all the way from high school, my relationships have been not good. I just never quite connected the dots there. And I realized, after much pain and suffering, that you cannot separate them. You cannot separate your personal life from your professional life. If one is struggling, it's going to impact the other, as you said before the break. It's just going to happen. And when I was coming up, the rationale was, you do what you have to do. You put in the time, you put in the energy, you put in the travel, you do whatever it takes, because if you are successful professionally, your personal life will be good. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Okay. If you're not present, and I was not present, I was physically there, but I was not engaging, is what was happening in my marriage. And consequently, it wasn't respecting what she wanted and her needs are, and she left. And so we then became a single parent because I had custody of the two girls. And as you and I and Teresa, or you and I and Kat were talking about the first book, making that connection was so important. In the book, a lot of people came back to us and said, it was a really good book, Walking on Water, and it helped from the professional standpoint. But how do I do this in the personal life? How do I put that together? And there's a number of things that come into play, because what you say, it starts in your head. We said that earlier, is if you're always making these bad decisions, or would turn out to be bad decisions, then let's take a step back, like we sitting in the bar again. You got to change that. And then another big one was what you say what you mean, right? We have this tendency as people to dance around the topic, or drop the little subtle hints, or not come right to the point. So say what you mean, and then what you say and when you say it is also incredibly important. One of the stories we put in the book was, it was a couple, and they were going to go out to dinner, and they're going to go to their favorite restaurant, right? And they always went there for a big event, but there was no big event. It wasn't an anniversary or birthday or anything. The husband was out going to play golf. And this is a true story. The husband's out playing golf with his buddies. So she's getting ready, and she's going to meet her. She's going to meet him at the restaurant. So he's in, he's all getting ready to go, and he's out on the last hole, and he has a 1 foot putt. And if he makes this 1 foot putt, he wins the bet, and he beats all of his friends, and he takes all their money, right? So he goes up to hit, and he misses. He misses a 1 foot putt. He does not win. So he leaves the golf course, goes and meets his wife, and he's not engaged or present at all, because his mind is on how he missed this 1 foot putt. So she's talking, and she looks beautiful, and she's trying to engage, and he's not engaged. So it was not a very pleasant evening all around. They get home, and they go to bed, and the wife is thinking, did I do something wrong? Did I offend him? And a lot of things go through women's minds that don't go through men's minds, because men don't think that much. So it's is he having an affair? Is our relationship in trouble? And all these angst she's going through for the whole night. And he's laying on the other side of the bed saying, who misses a 1 foot putt? Now, if he would have simply said, this is what happened. I was at golf. I missed a 1 foot putt. Can you believe that? I could have got it out early in the evening, and they could have laughed about it and had a nice evening and went on forward from there. So there's a number of things that is what you say and when you say it. I'll give you an example that happened here with my wife. Is I'm on the phone yelling at the cell carrier, the cell phone carrier, the service group, right? Who doesn't give you any service. So he's yelling and having a fit. Hang up. I'm still shaking, and she comes in and says, "Look what I bought." And I say, "Oh, that's nice." Okay, not a good answer. Not a good answer when someone comes up to you and says, "Look what I bought," and they're excited. Oh, that's nice. So that didn't go well. And so as I thought back on it, and I'm saying to people in the book, look, if it's help set the stage. If the person's upset and uptight and angry, not a good time to bring something up. But when you are going to bring something up, set the stage. Something like to the effect of, I've been wanting this for so long, and I found it on sale today. So I got it, and I saved all this money, and I love it. That would have triggered me again, because men do not pick up subtle hints. I would have said, wow, that's terrific. I know you've been talking about that, and it's going to look wonderful on you, and I'm so happy for you. That was the response that they were looking for, instead of, oh, that's nice. And life goes on, and things deteriorate from there.
From there, right? And you have a whole, we're not going to go over all of them, but just maybe one or two. There's a whole segment about what Frank is talking about, and how the difference in what men say and what women say and how you say it and so forth and so on. And it's in the beginning of this book. It's actually in both books. It's that important that people read and really take in the fact that, when I say fine, it doesn't necessarily mean fine. Right, Frank?
Exactly. There was a number of things. How this all came about was I got divorced, and it was not a good situation. And I was talking to a woman friend that I've known for years and years. And I said, so what are we supposed to do as males? And she says, well, we want you to engage and we want you to listen, right? You don't have to fix it. You just have to listen. And she said, I'll give you an example, Frank. They were engaged at the time, way back when, and says, I was walking past the See's candy store, and her fiance at the time says, I like the candy with the peanuts. And she says, oh, I like butterscotch chocolate. Didn't go in the store, just walked passing thing. So a week later, he comes in and brings her a box of butterscotch chocolate. And she said, I was so impressed that he listened, he heard what I said, and he took action on it. And I said to her, well, gee, it would be nice if there was a book or something that laid out these things. But a week later, she sends me this list, and she said, Frank, this is the dumbass book.
I love the name of it, because when you read through these, it actually applies. It's like the perfect title for this.
I laughed when she was doing. I laughed through it, but you said fine, okay? And so that was the very first one. Fine. But fine is a word that women will use at the end of an argument. Okay, I'm done talking to you. This is over. Men, just be quiet. Shut up at this point, because nothing you say from this point forward is going to matter anyway. It's over. So it's just fine. I'm done. And they just walk away. The other one that I liked quite a bit was nothing. I just saw a commercial this morning, and I don't even remember what the product was, but there's a wife sitting on a couch or looking at the window, and the husband walks in and says, what's wrong? And she just turns and says, nothing, and then turns back. And as he's walking away, and again, I don't know what the product was, he says, now you know something's wrong. Nothing doesn't mean nothing. Nothing means you should be aware of what's going on and you don't know what it is. And therefore, I don't even have the energy or the time you want to talk to you at this point. So nothing just is easier, go away, but you better be prepared, because it's going to come up. Whatever that nothing is, it's going to come up at some point. So be prepared for it. And from a male's perspective, she also sent me a list and said, here's things that men need to know how to say and listen. And she said the very first one is, I'm sorry. And I read that and I started to laugh, and then said in another interview, I'm Italian. I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, an Italian community. Everybody I knew was Italian. I didn't know that people had blonde hair till I was like 8 years old, right? And I used to hear my uncles, my grandfather, and they would say things to I'm sorry. And I was thinking, what are you sorry about? And like my grandfather would say, Frank, it's a preemptive strike, because you said or did something wrong, or you didn't do something, or you didn't say something. So you just say, I'm sorry, get it out of the way, go early, and then you can move on with your life. I thought to myself, well, that's pretty stupid. And then after going through a very not pleasant divorce, I realized, if I had said I'm sorry way back when, many times before we got to that point, life would have been so much easier. Like coming home and being working on a multi-million-dollar project, and I'm just not engaged. My head's in the project, and I'm home. My wife is talking, and I can see her mouth moving and lips moving and words, but nothing's registering. And that's about the biggest insult you could possibly do, is to just either take them for granted or be at a point where what you have to say is of so little interest to me that I'm not even listening.
Right.
That's
I think one thing that a lot of people do, let's bring this into like the business world, when stuff like that goes on, like a lot of times people using the situation, let's say you were at a business meeting and somebody is talking to you, a potential client is talking to you, and for some reason, and I'm guilty of doing this too, and I have in the past, but I'm so aware of it that I make sure that I'm fully present in every conversation. So what would it be like if you were having somebody was having a conversation with you about business, and you're like in your head figuring out what you're going to say next, and they're talking about something completely different, and you come out of left field? Well, you just lost the deal.
Yes, so, exactly. That happens more times than you could possibly imagine, because listening, it's not just, it goes on both sides of the equation, both your life, personal life, and your professional life. Because if you listen, you have to have deep listening, and you're listening to understand. When you're listening to respond, you're not listening, you're not engaged, you don't even know what they said, you probably missed the boat completely. And the listening says to somebody, I hear you, I see you, and you matter.
Yes.
And then listening leads to connection. And that connection is what makes things successful or not successful.
Right.
They're giving this, I was in the military, right? And in the military, everything is about the mission, right? Okay, the mission is the most important thing, the mission. And as I got older and hopefully wiser, I realized that's not the case. It's not the mission. It's the relationship and the connection that you have with the people who are in with you trying to accomplish the mission. That's what matters. That's why the listening is so important, because you're having a dialogue to connect. And people say, well, we have discussions all the time. Well, discussions usually aren't, you're not connecting. A discussion is usually, I'm trying to tell you my point's better than yours.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a debate as opposed to a dialogue leading to a connection. And then once you have that connection, now there's respect. And if there's respect, then there's trust. And now everyone is working toward the same goal because they feel valued all along the board, be that professionally, I had learned that the hard way early as I was coming up, and be that in your personal life.
Mm-hmm. And that's really important that you said that. Connection piece is like the most important part of communication. Conversations that make a difference came about because I am all about, I'm a word nerd. Okay, that's, I love words, but the thing for me is exactly what you just said, Frank, the connection. And John Maxwell, I think, wrote a book called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And I think that in a huge way, your books actually speak beautifully to that concept of everyone communicates, few connect. And the connection piece is most important. And going back to what you said about culture, the communication piece, where you have the connection, where you make the connection, you're communicating in such a way that you feel connected to that person, whether you're talking about a coworker, whether you're talking about a business partner, whether you're talking about a potential business partner, whether you're talking to your wife or your children, there has to be that connection there. Otherwise, nothing else really matters, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And then you're just going through the motions. And at some point, going through the motions gets old, and you make a connection somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And there's where the danger comes in. Be it professionally, you make a connection someplace else. You may leave the job that you're with, or you just don't care anymore. You just give up.
Yeah.
And at work, when you're going through the motions, everything is going to suffer.
From a leadership perspective, which is a lot of what you talk about here, as business owners, we have to be good leaders, right? You have to be an example, a true example to the people that you work with, whether it's whatever relationship it is. So from a leadership perspective, everything that you're saying, whether we're talking about the military or whether we're talking about, the ice cream shop down the block, or whether we're talking about an entrepreneurial venture like what you do, help people to be better entrepreneurs, better people in general. It all comes together. It all comes together.
Absolutely does.
Yeah, absolutely
does. The thing that it took a lot of years for me to understand was, and Dale Carnegie wrote it, is when you're dealing with people, you have to remember you're not dealing with creatures of logic. They're creatures of emotion.
Yes.
And when I came up in the world, it was keep your emotions out of the room. It's not personal, it's business. That's nonsense. Everything is personal. Everything affects somebody personally. You cannot leave your emotions at the door. They come in with you. And emotions are good, I learned, dealing with a number of people who specialize in that, because it's your body telling you something's not quite right here. Now, what you do with it's up to you. Mm-hmm. And so I finally have learned, and I tell executives all the time, you have to lean into the emotion, feel what that emotion is, determine why is that triggering me before you react, because the typical knee-jerk reaction, you're an idiot, or that's stupid, or whatever. No, step back. Why am I triggered by this thing? Why is it occurring? And why am I making it something that it doesn't necessarily need to be? Then take a couple breaths, start moving forward, and you disarm the situation.
Right.
Okay. By a quick reaction isn't going to work. And then finally realize that reason is never going to defeat an emotion. Okay. The one way to avoid that landmine is not to try to show somebody that you're right and they're wrong. That's not going to do it. You have to show them first off that you care.
Right.
And a statement that you and I and Kat have talked about quite a bit is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you don't care, you're never going to get that connection or that relationship. And the days from leadership perspective, the days of pounding on the desk and yelling, they're over. Those guys are dinosaurs. They're going to be gone. If they're not gone already, they'll be gone in the very near future. Because one of the things I see when I talk to the millennials and the Gen X's and the Gen Y's and the Gen Zers, the young ones, is they look at me and say, I'm not putting up with that. That comes up, I'll leave in the middle of the day. Okay. Now, some of these leaders have said, well, they're not loyal, they're not this, they're not that. And I would say to them, all right, let's take a step back here. Let's look at loyalty. Let's do a little word association. When you hear NASA, what does it mean to you? And most people around my age will say, oh, man on the moon, great thing. And so you say NASA to somebody in their 20s and 30s, it's the space shuttle blew up and killed the teacher.
Yeah.
It's not a good relationship.
Hold that thought. We have to go to another break, but when we come back, I want you to talk about how we can meld the communication from people like you and me to those who are much younger than us, because I think that you hit on something really big there, and you teach a lot in your book that can really help to bridge not the generation gap, but the communication gap between generations. So let's go to our break, and we'll be right back with Frank Zaccari.
Darkest hours to brightest moments, transformation from despair to happiness, and chaos to clarity. Real people, real pain, real healing. Life-threatening illness, death, abusive relationships, divorce, and overcoming addiction are challenges these men and women faced head-on. See how they emerged stronger and happier. Buy the new book, Chaos to Clarity, Sacred Stories of Transformational Change by Reverend Patricia Caginello and Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas. Available on sacredstoriespublishing.com and worldwide through Amazon and other retailers.
In a world facing annihilation, a miraculous African nun rises to become the first female pope through a web of war, murder, and betrayal. Loved by some, hated by many, she becomes the deadly target of Islamic terrorists and her own cardinals as she introduces a new vision that will either save humanity or accelerate its destruction. 4 people must race against a nuclear holocaust. To learn her astonishing secret, Pope Annalisa is available at petercanova.com, Amazon, and other online booksellers and bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Why are we here? How can we be happy? Questions asked from millennials to boomers. Crappy to happy. Sacred stories of transformational joy answers them using true stories of grit, grace, and love. James Redfield, author of The Celestine Prophecy, wrote in the foreword, "This book is a seminar about emerging truths and offers grounded solutions through the art of the comeback." Dr. Bernie Siegel, a contributing author, wrote, "Bodies die, but spirits and consciousness survive and recycle." So, grab some tissues, open your book, and prepare to cry and laugh till it heals. Crappy to Happy by Reverend Ariel Patricia and Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and booksellers worldwide.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back with Frank Zaccari. Before the break, we were talking about the different generations and business, and how I don't believe that there's really so much of a generation gap as there is a communication gap and a connection gap. So talk about that in relation to business with younger people today. Most of the this youngest generation, my son being, well, my son's probably in the middle of there somewhere because he's 35, but he never wanted to work for anybody else. He always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I think that there's this generation that is coming up is the same thing. And they fall right into your conversation, Frank. So let's talk about how what you're teaching can help them.
Exactly. I interact with a number of the millennials, the Gen Zers, the younger ones also at Arizona State. And one of the things about them is they're incredibly intelligent, and they grew up with all the technology. And so when I'm up there talking about something and they're looking on their phones and people are saying, well, that's rude. And I said, no, they're validating what you're saying. All right. If they deem you to be full of baloney, we'll use that word instead of what I was going to say originally, they're going to turn you off. They're not going to listen to you. You don't know what you're talking about. All right. And then they move on. So they're so intelligent. The thing that I love about them is it's everything starts with respect. And that to me is the single most important thing. It has to be respect. And I read in this book, Crucial Conversations, I believe is the name of the book. And it said that if there's more than one person involved in anything, there's going to be conflict. And conflict in and of itself is not bad or good. It's what you do and how you react or react to the conflict. That's what determines whether it's good or not good. So respect it's like air. This is what the author wrote. It's like air. As long as it's there, nobody thinks about it. But as soon as respect is missing or gone or is taken out of a discussion or conversation, that's all anybody can think about. So the instant younger people perceive disrespect, then the interaction is no longer about what the original topic was. Now it comes down to defending their dignity and your dignity. And now you get into a big argument. Yeah. So you have to respect, particularly these younger people coming up, because they're smarter than we were at that age. They know how to use the technology. They know what it can do. They're not afraid of it. And they know that I can do A and B and get to something that we would have never even come up with. I'll give you a good example. Franny Matthews worked for me for many, many years in the tech world. And she now is the president and CEO of the Colorado Technology, I forget the last word. And her daughter went to school and got a degree in analytics. And she calls her up and she leaves her a text message. Mom, need to talk. Not important, need your advice, right? So a parent, when you get something like that, you think, oh my God, they still need my advice. So you wait like 2 seconds before you call. And she says, Mom, I'm doing this job and I can write a bot, an algorithm to do it. And I'm debating whether I should bring it up because then there's no need for me. And Franny, to her credit, said to her daughter, you absolutely do. You go talk to your manager and you show them what it is that it can be done, and then you do it. And you're not going to eliminate your job because this is the kind of individual that they're looking for, is someone who can see a problem, find a solution to a problem, and then move forward with it.
Yeah.
That's what the young people can do. They know how to do that. We didn't know how to do that coming up. They know how to do that. So when you show them respect, listen to what they have to say. Now, you don't have to implement everything that they have to say, but you at least have to listen to what it is that they have, because they're not, failure is not a thing for them. They're not oh, God has failed. No, it didn't fail. It didn't work this time. We're going to keep working on it, and we're going to figure this out. And once they see that's the environment, going back to culture we talked about earlier, if that's the culture and the environment that they're in, they're not going to leave. They're not going to feel, I hear them say all the time, no, they feel entitled. And I said, they have the answer. They know how to do this. You're not taking advantage. The person who has to change is you, not them. They're coming up. I interviewed Dr. Edward Hess, who's a futurist. He's from the Darden School at University of Virginia. And he was saying, hey, this is the way it's going to come. If you don't become more humanistic in your management style, if you don't accept and recognize emotions and become more emotionally intelligent yourself, the world's going to pass you by.
Yeah.
They're not going to need you, because now you got to be able to collaborate. You have to be able to take input from a lot of different places and a lot of different people who come from different cultures and backgrounds and education. And you then become almost like a facilitator instead of the manager who says, do this, do this, do this. Those managers are gone, or they're going to be gone. It's more of a facilitator. And when you facilitate and you get these younger people together, they're amazing what they can do. Now, the other side of the coin is we still have baby boomers that are working, and they're not quite in sync with all of this. So now you're managing communication and connection from people from 70 years old to 21. It's a 50+ year gap.
Yeah.
Right. And it comes back down to showing respect for everyone. The person who is the baby boomer who's still working has a wealth of knowledge of things, of how things were and how things have been and what worked in the past and what didn't work in the past. So they can bring some kind of a sense of history, where the young people sometimes just want to ignore history. Well, you can't ignore history. You have to take what can you learn from the history, and then make adjustments and go forward from there. What I love about the young group is they say what if all the time. And a term that drives me crazy is best practice. And I think we put that in both of the books. Best practice is a point in time. It's not in stone. It's not forever. And there's so many organizations that are no longer with us because they followed their best practice all the way to extinction when it didn't matter anymore. It didn't matter.
No, because there's always going to be a better practice that comes up from your best practice. And you need to be able to, just like you elevate your communication in your relationships at home and with your family and your friends and whatever, you're going to have to elevate your communication and be open to something that is a little bit better than what you consider to be your best, especially with what you just said with this new generation, so technology literate, that I mean, I'm pretty literate when it comes to technology, but there's stuff that if you put it in front of me, it's like Greek,
Exactly.
not even Italian, Greek.
Exactly. I had to learn it, a single dad, and I'm raising two daughters. And so communication, I had to learn that in a hurry. And when we were going to counseling, when it was my turn alone with the counselor, they said to me, you got a series of problems here, Frank. First off, you're a man. And secondly, you're going to have to learn how to communicate. And third, you're going to have to validate feelings. Now, I said, somebody in your position and the titles that you've held, that's going to be dying and going to hell for you.
Yeah.
But you better learn it. And so it was a matter of never say, I learned, I don't always do it. Never say, don't worry about that, or you shouldn't feel that way. Okay. It's more, tell me what's going on. At work and at home, both. What's going on? Are you all right? What's concerning you? You can't say saying what's wrong is not good, because the answer is always nothing. Nothing's wrong. Okay. What's concerning you? How can I help you? What can we do to make this better? The magic word there is, what can we do to make this better? Not what can you do to make it better, or how can let me just fix it. Okay, it's another thing men tend to do. Well, there's a lot of things you can't fix, and nor does your partner or the people you're working at work want you to fix it. They just want you as a sounding board to hear what they have to say, and maybe you can trigger an idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let me plug that into the equation.
Yeah. Yeah. And you give their power back to them by doing that. You give them their power back. It allows them to find the solution to the problem that you may have been able to fix, but chose not to in order to be able to help them grow, whether it be personally or in business.
Exactly.
Good stuff, Frank. We're coming to the end of our hour. Would you believe it? It's almost done.
Wow.
That
went fast.
I know. We have like 4 minutes left. So let's talk about what's next for you. I mean, you talked about oh my goodness, the courses that you're putting together
Yes.
and that are a spin-off of each of the books. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I know you're working on that. And what's coming next in terms of books after these two?
Well, what's coming next in the books is going to be a 3-book series. And the third book I've sent into the publishers to you guys. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be how to business and personal secrets for getting unstuck.
Yes.
Because everybody is stuck at some time, at some point. Even the best relationship and the best job, doesn't matter what it is, you're going to be stuck in something. All right. So we talked about business, we've talked about the landmines for personal relationships, and now we're going to say, how do you get unstuck when you get into that point? Yes. And there's a number of things, and we try to touch on, here's a lot of places that you're going to get stuck. So let's make sure that we're aware of them and then how we can address them. So I'm excited about that one. That'll be the third in a 3-book series. The workshops are coming along. We basically have gone into the workbook and now expanded on it to create a series of workshops. And the first one is almost done, not quite. And then we'll be putting that out. I was a keynote speaker at the Veterans in Business Network in November. And that was wonderful. It was a wonderful event. It had 400 people, some virtual, some in person. And I gave that talk, and I had a lot of input and a lot of dialogue from these veterans. And they said, how can we work with you? And I said, well, let's put these workshops together. We'll do that first. And then read the book and then have the workshop. And some people, when they look at a book and they do a workshop, they think about it. But if we're sitting there and we're going through them, let's talk about this. Mm-hmm. All right. Give me one time when you actually did this. Give me an example, not yes or no, because yes or no, they're blowing you off.
Right.
So we're going to have a workshop for each book coming out of the workbook in each book. And then the speaking engagements are picking up, which is exciting because I love doing that. And I like it personal when there's a crowd, because then you can, the energy is higher. But learn how to do it virtually. We're doing a keynote in India. I think they're going to record it Wednesday. What's today?
Awesome.
Tuesday, Thursday. They're going to record it on Thursday, and it's going to be on January 1st, their New Year kickoff thing.
I want to say I love the fact that you are, and thank you for your service as a veteran. I love the fact that you're in the conversation with veterans who, many of them don't think that they have the skills to do anything except what they learned in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, whatever. And you are a huge example about how you can step into using what you know already. You can step into something different and make a difference in your own life, the lives of your family, the lives of others around you. So I am just like in awe of the fact that time is gone. So Frank, real quickly, how can people get in touch with you?
The fastest way is on the website, which is my name, frankzaccari.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm in Be Connected. I'm easy to find. If you want to get a hold of me, I'm very easy to find. We will respond to you. If you make a comment in LinkedIn, I will respond to you. And if it's needs to be a little more in depth or personal, then I'll send you a message. Awesome. But I appreciate this opportunity so much. I love working with you and Kat. And I think what we're doing is making a major impact on the world.
Major impact. I love it. And thank you for spending time with me. This conversation will make a difference in the lives of many others. And I encourage everyone, make every conversation you're having make a difference in the life of someone else. Until next time, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life